So today we're going to go ahead and add a new contract in RMS 3. I've already logged in using my CAT card and PIN, and I'm going to go ahead and click the district that I want to use. We'll go ahead and click Add here to add a new contract. You have to be an RMS administrator for your local office in order to do that. And we'll go ahead and enter the title here, and then select the office where the contract should appear in RMS. Hit OK. RMS will go ahead and add the contract, and then we'll see the contract selection menu here in just a second where we can go ahead and fill in the rest of the information. So I have the contract award open in a separate monitor, and I'm going to just pull information from the award to fill in the basic contract details here. So go ahead and click on the contract description, and we can actually just copy and paste this contract title, and that's probably good enough. Let's add the fiscal year over here. Go ahead and put the contract number in from the contract award. And this is one of the long delivery order number contracts. We'll go ahead and add that. So now for the contract description, I've actually got to page through the award and find some information here that'll help. And we can paste that in the contract description. The primary fund type we can set whenever we figure that out. We can easily see it once the financial information is downloaded from CFUMS. So let's go ahead and fill in the contract location here. If you select the location on the map, then you would be able to see it. RMS actually has its own built-in GIS system, so you'd be able to drill down into contracts and actually see them where they're located on the map. Look in the back of the contract award, it has a wage determination number, so we'll go ahead and put that in. And I think that'll be enough information for right now. We're going to go ahead and click back to commit that information. It's warning me that I didn't fill in the latitude and longitude. For now, that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and ignore the warning, save, and exit. Let's go into the contract status screen, and we'll fill in as much information as we can there. There's no contract photo yet and no monthly progress, but we can update the status here to just say that the contract was awarded. So let's go ahead and do that. And we can say that there are no delays right now, which is D0. Go ahead and hit OK. And that's as much contract status information as you need to fill in. So I'll hit back. Next, let's go into the contract setup screen. There are two things you want to pay attention to in this screen. The first one is the CFUMS database name. Normally this would be blank. You want to go in here and specify the district where your CFUMS funding is located for the contract. And the second thing here says turn QCS off. Part of the migration process to get a contract from QCS into RMS is to go ahead and do one last import from QCS in order to capture any remaining items that the contractor has marked completed sent to government. You want to go ahead and do all the approvals in QCS in the import-export approval screen, and then you can come in here and click turn QCS off. Your name should appear. You go ahead and click OK, and you may have to give your PIN. All of the other settings on this screen look OK, so we'll go ahead and proceed to the next tab. The payment modification screen, the obligations will fill in here in just a second once we download from CFUMS. Want to go ahead and fill out as much ACO mod information as possible. So we have the Bay Area office here. Which office is going to administer ACO? So we'll go ahead and fill in the CO name here. We can just make a correction here. So this information is used when you draft a mod in RMS. So you better go ahead and just make sure all this is filled in so that way it has the appropriate information to put on the SF30s. And I think that the CO's name is on the award, so hopefully the account is in here, and it is. Go ahead and just replace this with the appropriate titles. Next, we'll go over to the Quality Assurance tab, and we'll need to set the project engineer, the COR, and the QA rep's name. We'll go ahead and set the number of shifts, and then this information down here is used to calculate weather mods. If you know it, actually we should find out. If you don't know it, go ahead and put the anticipated number of adverse weather days for each month in these boxes, and then specify the work week here, and that will help RMS calculate weather mods in the future. So next, let's go ahead and go into the submittals and schedules screen. So here you are specifying the defaults that get applied to each submittal register item when they're added into RMS, so it's important to do this before you import the submittal register. This value, if the contractor is using an NAS, basically will allow them to select activities off the schedule to compute the need by dates. If you uncheck this, then the contractor can manually enter the need by dates. But in order to successfully calculate the need by dates, RMS also needs to know the default review periods. Typically that would be 30 days for GA, 14 days for FIO. These other values are used for design build jobs, and you can fill those in as appropriate. You need to actually tell RMS the appropriate amount of time for a resubmittal. And then back when we used to do paper transmittals, you'd have to actually specify the number of copies that the contractor would need to provide for each type of submittal. You want to also specify the government reviewer for submittals, which typically is a project engineer. And then RMS3 actually allows you to specify which address to use on the 4025. So we'll go ahead and specify that here. That's stored in the office description under the local office menu in RMS. So this contract doesn't have any dredging, so we don't need that. And we only have one submittal register. Theoretically, you could add more than one and then pick from those if you had a multi-phase project, for example. The very last choice here, those are your two choices, and that refers to the schedule module for the activity schedule. Typically, if the contractor is going to use Primavera and import SDEF files, you can use the NAS option. Otherwise, they can manually input the schedule dates. Requires the contractor to use actual start and finish dates from the QC report. That makes sure that the QC rep every day has to specify the actual start and finish dates for each activity on the schedule, and then RMS will enforce that the QC report dates that the QC manager is putting in are equal to the actual dates that are being imported from the schedule in Primavera. So it should actually be turned on. We've struggled sometimes to get contractors to get any schedule in RMS properly, so sometimes that adds a little extra complexity, where it won't import because the QC report dates don't match what the scheduler put in for the actual days. Let me go ahead and hit back because I'm finished with the contract setup now. Let's go ahead and look at the milestone dates by going under schedules and milestone schedule. Next, we'll go ahead and click System. The system dates are the ones that are up or reported to systems outside of RMS, so they're very critical. Once the award date's been entered, you're responsible for keeping these up to date at least once a month. You should come in here and make sure all the dates are up to date. It helps out the PMs because they no longer have access to enter the dates in their schedule. So it's very important to make sure these are up to date. To get started, we'll go ahead and enter the contract award. So go ahead and double click there. And according to the award document, this contract was awarded on 7/14/2017. In order to get the scheduled dates, you'll need the P2 number. You can look up the PM's existing schedule for the project by entering the P2 number into the WebCMI website. Let's go ahead and click back. You'll need to enter the award duration of the contract. You may need to calculate the number of days based on the difference between the NTP date and the period of performance date in the contract if it's not specified as a number of days. I already happen to know this one is 370 days, so that's good. We'll go ahead and click back. This contract doesn't have an NTP date yet, but if it did, you would want to go ahead and enter that as soon as possible, because the NTP date triggers the start of being able to enter QC and QA reports and a bunch of other things in the system that are very important. So let's go ahead and go back out of here. And I think now we're ready to download finances from CFMS. So let's go ahead and try to do that. We'll click Finances here, Contract Finances, and go ahead and hit CFMS download up here. Whoops. Okay. I need to actually tell RMS which CFMS it's going to download contract finances from, because you can actually specify a different district CFMS and manage the contract from, say, Baltimore, even though you're using Louisville funds. So let's go ahead and go back to the contract setup. We'll go ahead and add the CFMS designation here. So we're going to use Baltimore District CFMS and go ahead and hit back. And now hopefully we should be able to add the financial information from CFMS through a download. Let's go ahead and try it. CFMS download here. This will just take a second to go out and look, and hopefully it'll match up the contract number and delivery order number correctly. We'll find out here in a second. Okay, it says download from CFMS complete. We'll hit OK, and that refreshes the screen, and there we have some financial information. So if you expand the financial information, you can see kind of how the funding is structured here. You can see that this is an O&M Air Force contract, and it looks like it's got one obligation line item probably for each CLIN, if I'm guessing. So we'll go ahead and see they're all labeled for different options and so forth. So the next thing to do in this screen would be to go into contract funding here, and we'll just specify the total contract amount. So let me go ahead and do that. I can get that from the award. So that amount looks like it is this. Okay, and then we should set the program type, and as you saw before in the finances, it was O&M Air Force. I don't think we have Air Force here, but we do have O&M, so let's go ahead and just pick that if we can. The easiest thing to do might be to just go ahead and type it in up here. And we have military operation and maintenance. There we go. Okay, go ahead and hit back. As a part of downloading the CFMS finances, now we should have a P2 project, hopefully, if one is assigned. Let's go ahead and double check that. So if I hit P2 projects here, I should hopefully see a P2 project number listed, and I do not. So what that means is I'll have to go ahead and check with the PM and see if they've put a template in that's appropriate for RMS. so that the RMS and P2 interface can find the P2 project data to be able to upload the milestones and status information into P2. You can try to click Add here, but if your P2 number isn't one of the ones that's listed, there really isn't anything you can do in RMS to get it to show up. It has to be done by the PM, and if they need help, they can contact the P2 help desk, which will help them get the right template to be able to use the RMS interface for their project. So for now, I'm just going to click back. Next, we'll go ahead and enter the prime contractor information. So let's go ahead and click prime contractor here. And I need to go look up the prime contractor information here on the award. This one was issued to Mortensen, so what I need to do for RMS 3, there's actually a whole separate list of prime contractors that have their prime contractors administrator information linked to them to say who can administer their contracts in RMS 3. So what I need to do is just take a quick look and see if I can find that record in here, and unfortunately I can't. So I need to actually go ahead and add it from the district office. So go ahead and cancel this. We'll go ahead and get out of this screen and go back to the contract selection screen here and hit district office and prime contractors. Most of the RMS local administrators in Baltimore District already have permission to add firms to the prime contractors list for the district. If you do not have the ability to add prime contractors at the district office, let me know and I can try to help you with that. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add here, and I'm going to create a record for Mortensen Company. Employees will be assigned permissions and accounts with this record, and then this record is going to be associated with specific contracts that we've granted them access to. Go ahead and hit OK. Go ahead and fill out this basic contract record. In order to get the DUNS and this code number, we'll go ahead and use the GSA SAM website. So let me pull that up and I can show it to you in just a second. SAM is the System for Award Management. It's a website that's basically a clearinghouse of information from GSA about all government contractors. So what I can do here is I can look up the specific codes for Mortensen, in SAM, and then I'll be able to fill them into RMS. Since this is the first record, first time I'm entering this contractor, we'll have to go ahead and get this information. So I'll just type in a little bit of information here for the name and hit search. And then I actually have a record here. Let's see, we just have to find the right one. This one matches the contract award. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to go ahead and copy the DUNS number right from here. So we can paste that into RMS. And then we'll go ahead and look up the classification code just by clicking View Details here. And then all those codes are under something called assertions. So we'll go ahead and click that. And we can see here that this code is for commercial and institutional building construction, which is what they classify as for our particular purposes. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. Next, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the street address information from the contract award. So when the contractors load RMS contractor mode on their machines, one of the things they need to do is go ahead and register for an account just like you would with any new web service. We need a name of at least one administrator for their company. Whatever email address they provide that they want to designate for that capability, they would we go ahead and paste that in here. And you'd be able to specify the first and last name and that person's an administrator for the company Mortensen here. And so what happens is any contracts that we associate them with this record, those particular individuals have complete control over. They can designate additional administrators within their company, and they can designate their own staff. We just have to get them started and give at least just a handful of people access, and then they'll be able to control the rest of it. So for right now, I don't actually have that email name, so I'm just going to have to click back. But then the record is now created, so I should be able to refer to it in our contract. So let me go ahead and hit back again, and I'll go back all the way to the contract selection screen. The contract I was just working with shows up in the recent list here, so I can click on it. And then we'll be able to finally fill in the prime contractor information. So let me go ahead and do that. This is the particular field that associates one of those RMS 3 records with all the accounts and who's the administrator with a particular contract. So go ahead and fill that in. And I just have to type enough of it to be able to get the name of the contractor here. So that's filled in. And then, right, RMS is warning me that I don't have any administrators for that record, so I need to go add some so that the contractor will have access to this particular contract. I'll go ahead and email the contractor and ask who they want to be the administrative staff for their company and have them provide me those emails later. For now, I'm going to click OK and just go ahead and push this button so that I can copy the information I already entered from the district office directly into this contract record. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then most of it populates here. Go ahead and click Payee Office. This information comes from the vendor records that are on the obligation line items and CFMs. So we'll go ahead and pick that. That's pretty well filled in. The contractor can actually fill in the rest of it. But we need to at least have this RMS 3 prime contractor stuff filled in, so that way, give the contractor access to the contract in RMS 3. So let me go ahead and hit back. We're actually getting down to being almost finished, so we'll have to add the contract personnel here, which basically are building up the PDT team list so that it shows up nice and pretty on the contract status sheets. So you can go ahead and click Add and pick a name. Go ahead and do that. Okay. So you can choose the name and then the position title. This one already came through because this individual is the project engineer. I think that's his default title in RMS. So I'll go ahead and hit back. So you would just continue to go through and fill out the rest of the project delivery team information here. So it makes it easy to find out who the PM is and everything if somebody doesn't already know. Because bear in mind that people from headquarters and NAD could be looking at this information. You want to make sure all of it's filled in to the best of your ability. Go ahead and click back. So to import the submittal register for design bid build job, we usually require the designer to use specs intact. And they can provide us a common delimited file that we can then go ahead into the import export screen here and hit import specs intact. And you would hit add, specify the text file that's provided from the designer, and would go through and actually import submittal register items and specs intact. I don't happen to have a file right now, so unfortunately I can't show that at the moment. You would go here under submittals and hit submittal assignments. So typically you would go ahead and replace invalid viewers with a valid viewer, and really that's pretty much all you have to do, other than just go through the register and make sure it looks decent, like the submittal specification sections would all be filled in with the appropriate names. The register may contain extraneous items. They're not the perfect registers that come from the AE by default, so it may take some work between you and the contractor in order to fix it up so that it's appropriate for use in the job. In this particular contract, I believe it's design build actually, so in that case we wouldn't necessarily have the submittal register and specs intact. What you end up doing is there's a special Excel template that the contractor can import from. You can see you can download the template here, and the contractor can bulk load that. If they have more than, say, a handful of submittals, They could enter directly into RMS. They could download this template, and it offers this ability to upload about like 10,000 at a time submittal items. So they have to actually fill that out, leave it as a CSV file from Excel, and then they can run an import command here and get the register in that way. Still need to fix up the register. So regardless of the method that's used to load the submittal register into RMS, once the contractor has developed their initial schedule and loaded that, they need to go here into the submittal register screen. And it's very critical, they need to go ahead and associate for each of these submittal register items a specific schedule activity. So you can see here there's a required for activity field. This actually needs to be set. A specific activity that's associated with this particular register item. Otherwise, the submittal need by dates will not populate in the register, and you will not know when the submittals are required for submission. One last thing to do is here under Finances, you have to actually specify the award cleanse. So let's go ahead and click Award Cleanse here. And let's go ahead and add the award cleanse in. So I have the cleanse on the other screen, so I can copy from them. But I'm going to go ahead and add these. And this one is a parent price cleanse, so we'll go ahead and do that. Typically they are. Unfortunately, if you have a price sub cleanse, the way that you can fund work in the future is restricted. You can't mix different funding types with price sub cleanse. So if you can help it, hopefully the contract specialist has specified all parent price cleanse for your job. Most of these are job, which I believe is JA, but you can search anything you want in this box. I can hit finish here. And then we'll go ahead and put a description in for the cleanse, and then the amount. Okay, and then we'll say it's complete and we're ready to fund. So here we'll click the funding button, and then we need to pick the obligation line item here that's going to fund this cleanse. So it looks like they've made the obligation line items and CFMs kind of match the award cleanse, so hopefully that'll make our job easier. So you can see down here it has the total contract amount, and then we're basically going to define cleanse up to that amount, and hopefully by the time we're done there'll be a variance of 0 between these two numbers. Let's go ahead and see what we can do here. So I'll hit next and then finish, and that applies the funding for that cleanse. So then I can click back, and I'm going to go ahead and add the next one. From the award, I have an exercised option, so I'll go ahead and add that. It's cleanse number 2, so I'm curious why they have 1AA actually in the funding over there in CFMs. It kind of makes me unhappy. I need to go investigate that. Okay, so here what I found out is it looks like for whatever reason, and I have no idea why really, they've split out funding, which is all the same appropriation and funding account number, for cleanse 1 into two different cleanses. There's a parent price cleanse here and a sub cleanse, and so this one has the bulk of the funding that is needed for cleanse 1, but then for some reason they had an additional 200,000 here. So I'm going to see what I can do to correct that cleanse, because now I put the cleanse in wrong. So let's go back and hit award cleanse here, and we'll go ahead into cleanse number 1 and double click on it. Let's see, so let's try to click funding again and see what we can do, because I did this incorrectly. Actually it split between 0001 and 1AA. Let's go ahead and try to split these up the way that they intended apparently when they set the funding up. So one was with that amount there, and then this one for whatever reason had the $200,000 like that. Okay, so you can see now down here there's a variance of 0, so that means that the total amount is covered, split between these two different funding items. You go ahead and hit next and see if RMS will accept that. Go ahead and hit finish. And apparently it accepted that, so that's fine. We'll go ahead and now we'll define the rest of the cleanse. This next clean is an exercised option, so we'll go ahead and add it. Again, it's a parent price clean. Number 2, it's a job. Finish. And this is option 1 for balcony railing. And it is for 53,803, like that. Ready to fund. Click the funding button here. And this is on obligation 2. And it is just like it says down there at the bottom, 53,803, which gives us a variance of 0 between the quin and obligation amount. You can go ahead and click next and hit finish. I'm going to go ahead and hit back to finish this one. Go ahead and add the next clean. It's an exercised option as well. You kind of get the idea. I mean, it's fairly straightforward as long as you can kind of understand the funding. Bear in mind that obligation line item numbers don't necessarily have to match each CLIN number, but in this case they do, so that makes our job a little bit easier. And let's see, this one is for another 50,000, like that. We'll go ahead and fund it. Click the funding button to pull down the funding. This is this one. CLIN. Okay, variance of 0, hit next, finish. And now you can see that the award contract value is the same as the award obligations here. So that means we're done basically entering the award cleanse. One thing that I noticed while I was working on this job is that they've already issued 3 different mods in PD squared, and I was able to log into PCF and see that. So in reality, we're not quite done yet. We need to start with a change, and then at least enough information in each change in mod to replicate what was done in PD squared. So that way full contract value is realized. The contractor could log in here and they could continue entering submittals. When the NTP actual data is entered, then they'll be able to do QC reports and so forth. I think I will go ahead, try to get this up to date with the changes that are already executed in PCF. So let me go ahead and click contract changes here. And I'll go ahead and add one. And I guess what I should probably do is just go ahead and I'll use the same mod number information on the SF30 that came out of PD squared. So let's see, this is going to be a single part change, and it's actually 01. I'm just going to copy as much as I can from the mod that the PCF. I don't see an actual reason code in the SF30 here, but I'm going to go ahead and pick differing site conditions. It looks like they found evidence of some asbestos on site. So this mod is basically to provide funding for a full ACM survey. So I'm not going to fill in all of the change information, but I am going to fill in enough just to get RMS up to date with the current contract value, as I'll actually say that the modification was issued out of PD squared. Okay. We have to add at least one BCD item, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Go ahead and hit back. And let's go ahead into the status and funding screen here, and I'm just going to check off most of this stuff just so that I can get RMS up to date. What we'll do is just say other and put the amount in here. $7,880 to the contract. Wants to know how you're going to fund it. 7,880 here. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this is an approved change. Alright, and none of that applies. Normally you would have a bunch of stuff in supporting documents. You know, we're just basically doing the basics to cover getting the mod in here. So let me go ahead and hit back. And all the titles and things filled in, so that's good. Now we can go ahead and create basic modification information just to get it up to date with RMS. First I have to add a mod, right? So this is mod 01. I'm basically copying as much as I can from the award. And it's upset with me because I think there's a little confusion here because this is technically a delivery order contract. Some folks in contracting probably think it needs 2 characters, but RMS thinks it needs 6 characters. So I guess what I'll do is make it mod 1 with 6 characters. Let's just see what happens. At least RMS is successful there. And then now we can add in the change by clicking this little plus button here. We're going to add in the survey. It automatically pulls in the amount of the mod. Now we can create CLIN number 6, which was the result of this mod. We'll go ahead and manually add a CLIN. Actually, I think we can automatically add one. Let's see. No, that didn't work out so well because it added it as price CLIN number 5. So let's go ahead and hit back and delete that CLIN. And then we'll go ahead and manually add a new CLIN number 6. So we'll add a new parent priced CLIN number 6 because CLIN number 5 is actually an option, which is kind of why I was putting the options in before, but still I think if we exercise an option it still needs to be through modification. So let me just finish filling in CLIN 6 here. And CLIN 6 will be for the full ECM survey in the amount of 7,880. Okay, go ahead and click back. And then let's see, I think I need to double click this PRNC amount here. We actually have to specify the funding here by PRNC. Because I don't know the PRNC number, I need to go look it up now. So let's go back to the CFMS Finances screen under here, Contract Finances, and we'll click Expand. And here you can see that Obligation Line Item 6, which is the one that's associated with this mod, is associated with PRNC Line Item number 5. We'll go ahead and assign that to the mod. So let's go ahead and click back. Go back to the mod screen. I went a little too far. I have to go back into the contract. I'll go Finances, Contract Modification, and go into this mod and finish it up. So I'll go ahead and double click PRNC again. Now I know that it's PRNC 5. I can go ahead and specify the 7,880 there and variance of 0. That's good. Okay, let's go ahead to the next tab. It wants to know the mod number in PD squared, which is 01. I hope it'll take that. We'll find out. Mod issue pursuant, and they have some FAR clauses and stuff in here, but I'm just going to ignore that for right now. I'll go ahead and go through these. It was issued by the contracting officer, so we'll go ahead and fill that in. And let's go to the Release Mod tab and say that the mod was funded. I can actually fill in the signature dates here from the information that's on the SF30 that I got out of PCF, so let me go ahead and do that. Okay. It wants to know the obligation amount here. So this is where you actually tell it how you're funding Cleanse 6, right? Just like we did in the award cleanse screen, except you have to do it here for the modification. Since we picked PRNC number 5, it already knows that obligation number 6 is associated with that one. If for some reason, you know, the funding is a little messed up, you may actually have to click show all obligation lines here. But for now, this actually is perfect. We'll just go ahead and stick the correct obligation amount in there. The variance is 0. Hit next. That looks like it's filled in okay. Click finish, and there's the funding for our mod. I believe that this screen is done. I'll go ahead and hit back. Let's see, modification is funded with obligations. That's correct. Modification is completed. Include modification in current contract. That is correct. So now it's going to let me know I need to have pay activities in there to balance out CLIN number 6. You have to actually have the contractor tell us which activities are going to comprise the work that it's going to take to do that survey. So we'll go ahead and click yes because you want to keep going here. You can either put in a dummy activity under the pay activity screen here that is equal in amount to number 6, or you can allow the contractor to create their own activities associated with bid item number 6 in the Primavera schedule, and then when they import their SDAF schedule will eventually balance out, even though RMS is upset and showing this red number here. So that's up to each office and each contract exactly how they want to do it. A lot of people will balance it anyway. I don't know if that's the appropriate thing to do, or if you should let the contractor define a specific set of activities that total that $7,880. For now, I'll just go ahead and create this activity. It's funny that it says, you know, automatically define an activity, and you have to still type in all this information. I think I'm going to go ahead and let the RMS Center know that that could be a potential issue. Maybe they didn't want to make an assumption about any of the information that you're putting in there, which is fine. Anyway, click back. Now this should eventually say balanced. Let's see, there we go. It updated out of the database as balanced. As far as the mod package for this one goes, it was already issued in PCF and PD squared, so we'll just go ahead and say the mod package will be completed and loaded from outside. And I guess we can check off mod package complete. Whoops, I guess we can, because section G is still needed. Because this is checked, I maybe don't bother with this one. That's fine. Typically there would be supporting documents in here, but since we're just catching up here, I'm going to leave that go and just hit back. So what I'll do is continue to put the rest of the mods in for this contract that I'm aware of that were issued out of PD squared, so that the current contract value is appropriate with what contracting is issued so far. And as far as I know, that should be pretty much all that you have to do to add a contract in RMS. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Give me a telephone call or an email. Thank you.